The heavy silk of the forgotten winter coat smelled of cedar and something faintly metallic. Not quite blood, but close to the taste of sudden, raw shock. Sylvie Hawthorne had retrieved Sterling Hawthorne's old bespoke navy coat from the back of the walk-in closet, intending to send it for cleaning before a rare cold snap. Sterling, her husband of 25 years, hadn't worn it since before he'd convinced her to retire from her successful boutique design firm 5 years ago. She was running her hand along the lining, checking for loose threads, when her fingers snagged on a thick, folded piece of stationery in an inner breast pocket. It wasn't a receipt. It wasn't a ticket stub. It was a note, penned in the spiky, aggressive cursive of his longtime administrative assistant, Serafina Voss. Sylvie's world narrowed to the white paper. The note was brief, scrawled with an almost triumphant sloppiness. S. The numbers are tight. $75,000 down payment is locked in, but the monthly cash flow for the Aspen property is a killer. The truth is, we are totally dependent on your wife's quarterly dividends and that substantial severance you convinced her to take. It has to cover the mortgage and the upkeep of the new place, plus the club fees, or we're underwater. Make sure she doesn't go back to work. Remind her of the stress. P.S. The diamond necklace is at the jeweler's. Picked out for you. S. The oxygen left the room. Sylvie didn't drop the note. She squeezed it until the edges frayed. The metallic scent she'd noticed was the cold, hard tang of absolute, complete betrayal. It wasn't just an affair, it was an economic execution, a 5-year-long financial ambush masked as marital care. He hadn't asked her to quit her job for her health or their marriage. He had stripped her of her earning power to finance a secret, lavish life with his mistress, Serafina Voss. Her first reaction was not tears, but a searing white-hot rush of indignation so intense it felt physical, like a reverse lightning strike. Stress. He had weaponized the concept of stress, whispering relentlessly that her work was aging her, that she deserved to rest, that he could finally provide for them both. The insidious flattery had been a gilded cage. She sank onto the expensive Italian leather bench in the closet, the smell of the coat suddenly sickening. She began to calculate, her mind, trained for 20 years in the sharp math of business, working with cold precision. She didn't just feel abused, she needed to quantify it. 5 years ago, she had sold 49% of her firm, Aesthetics by Hawthorne, for a clean, non-recurring payout. Sterling had insisted she invested immediately in the safe, managed portfolio he oversaw. A portfolio she had never been granted full, independent access to. That payout had been $2.5 million. Her nest egg, earned through decades of tireless work, the sweat equity of a successful entrepreneur. Then there was the quarterly dividend income. Since the sale, she had been receiving approximately $15,000 every 3 months from the remaining 51% stake, which Sterling had insisted she place in a joint account for household expenses. That money, she now knew, was paying the mortgage on the Aspen property, a property she knew nothing about. $15,000 a quarter, times 4 quarters a year, times 5 years. That was $300,000 in cold hard cash, her earned income, that had flowed directly into Serafina and Sterling's secret life. But the abuse was deeper than the money. It was the opportunity cost. In the 5 years she'd been resting, her closest rival Meredith Vance had landed the biggest contract of her career, increasing her firm's valuation by an estimated 40%. Had Sylvie stayed, her business would have appreciated in value by at least $1.5 million more. Sterling had cost her $1.5 million in potential growth, purely so he could funnel her current income into his betrayal. The emotional toll was priceless, but she tried to put a dollar figure on it anyway. The continuous, draining gaslighting, the forced dependency that had made her doubt her own sharp business instincts. She had been financially neutered and emotionally isolated, convinced she was too delicate for the boardroom. She was not a victim. She was a target of high-level financial fraud, perpetrated by the one man she had trusted implicitly. The indignation solidified into a diamond-hard resolve. Sterling Hawthorne had just made a terrible, irrecoverable mistake. He had underestimated the woman he had tried to break. He had traded her power for his pleasure, but the moment she found the note, the power had silently, irrevocably returned to her. Her hands moved instinctively towards the emergency savings. Years ago, before this stress campaign, she had opened a personal, unlinked private account, the Real Emergency Fund, funded by the annual bonuses she had consistently outperformed him on. It held a meager, but critically important, $80,000. She pulled out her phone and executed 3 simultaneous transfers. First, moving $75,000 from the joint checking account into that hidden emergency fund. Second, changing all her passwords on every financial and digital platform. And third, she liquidated the remaining 51% of Aesthetics by Hawthorne shares. The sale had an immediate electronic signature contract in place, a safeguard she'd put in place years ago. The funds, the final untouched $2.5 million, would be wired into her secret account within 48 hours. She had cut off the oxygen supply. With the financial bomb set, she needed to check the perimeter. She drove not to the office, but to her dearest friend and former business partner, Reese Calder. Reese, a brutally honest gallery owner, lived 2 towns over. Reese ushered her into his minimalist apartment, sensing the tectonic shift in her demeanor the moment he saw the tight, colorless look on her face. Sylvie didn't waste time. She showed him the note. Reese read it once, twice, his face moving from confusion to cold fury. "Sylvie," he said, his voice low. I can't believe this. I mean, I can believe it of him, but not the sheer audacity." Then came the crisis of confidence. Sylvie needed to know the public narrative. "Reese, tell me the truth. When Sterling brings me up to you, what does he say about me?" Reese hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "Look, Syl, he's been subtle. 4 years now. He always mentions how fragile you are, how the stress nearly broke you. He told me just last month that you've been erratic about finances, insisting on weird, expensive investments. He implied you were having some sort of mental decline, that he was protecting you by managing everything." The confirmation was a new level of pain. The betrayal was not just private. It was a calculated public smear campaign designed to pre-authorize her financial incompetence, should she ever object to his control. She had been publicly branded as the unstable wife by the man who was meticulously dismantling her life. The man she loved was not just a cheat. He was a psychological saboteur. "He's been laying the groundwork to steal the whole thing, Reese," Sylvie stated, the realization a dry, factual statement. "He's making sure that if I ever try to reclaim my assets, he can simply point to his narrative and say I'm not of sound mind." Reese swore under his breath. "That's monstrous. That's not just cheating, that's criminal. What do you do now?" "Now," Sylvie said, a thin, cold smile curving her lips, "he finds out I'm not unstable. I'm simply quiet." As if on cue, Sterling's call came in. His voice was frantic, tinged with a panic she had never heard before. "Sylvie, thank God you picked up. Listen, something strange has happened with the accounts. I went to pull the wire for the Aspen utility deposit. It's due today, and the checking account is completely empty. And my credit cards are being declined. Did you authorize a massive transfer? I can't access the main investment fund, either. The system keeps saying the ownership has been liquidated. What in God's name is going on?" Sylvie took a slow, steady breath, savoring the sound of his genuine fear. This was the moment. The power reversal. "Sterling," she said, her voice dropping to a low, melodic register, devoid of all emotion. "Don't worry. I authorized the transfer. All of it. And no, you can't access the investment fund because there is no investment fund. It's now in my private, secure portfolio. You see, I decided that since I'm already fragile and erratic, it's really much safer if I manage my own money now." There was a silence on the line, a void of sound in which she could almost hear his blood pressure spiking. You absolute idiot. That's our money. What are you doing? I'm going to lose the Aspen deal. I have clients waiting on me. Transfer the funds back now, Sylvie, or I swear to God, I will make you regret this. You cannot manage that amount of money. You're clearly having some kind of episode. Sylvie's gaze hardened. She had spent 5 years being gaslit. She was immune now. It's not our money, Sterling. It's mine. And your financial problem is no longer my priority. You know, you are quite right. I am stressed. I am stressed that my income was being used to support my husband's mistress. Don't worry about Aspen. I'm sure Serafina will be happy to cover your little side hustle. Consider your cash flow officially terminated. She hung up, the feeling of empowerment electric. But the relief was short-lived. Seconds later, her phone rang again, a private number. She answered with a wary, "Yes." Sterling's voice returned, no longer panicked, but dangerously cold and arrogant. "You think you've won, you naive fool? That money is community property. You just executed a massive, reckless, unilateral transfer while exhibiting clear signs of mental instability. I have 5 years of documentation and witnesses ready to testify to your erratic behavior. I'm calling Bartholomew Kane right now. He's the best conservatorship lawyer in the state. I'm going to have you declared incompetent, and then I'm going to take every single dime back. You will not only lose the money, Sylvie, you will lose your freedom and your sanity. You have no idea who you're dealing with." The air in the grand, custom-built kitchen of the Hawthorne home was thick with cold hostility. It was barely 9 o'clock the next morning, and Sterling had returned, not alone, but flanked by a tall, angular man in a bespoke suit, Bartholomew Kane, the high-priced conservatorship lawyer. They had bypassed the security code, which Sylvie immediately resolved to change, and stood like invaders in her sanctuary. "This is unnecessary, Sylvie," Sterling began, his voice dripping with false concern, though his eyes were sharp with predatory anger. "Just sign the temporary asset management agreement. Bartholomew has drafted it. It simply ensures the funds are not mismanaged while we sort out this emotional distress you're clearly suffering." Bartholomew Kane, whose reputation for ruthlessness preceded him, placed a document on the marble counter. It was a petition for temporary asset seizure and a preliminary mental competency hearing. "Mrs. Hawthorne," Kane's voice was smooth, practiced menace. "My client is merely acting in your best interest. Unilateral liquidation of substantial assets, coupled with the previous reports of erratic financial decisions, paints a concerning picture. Sign this, or we will file the motion this afternoon to declare you temporarily incompetent. It's designed to protect you from yourself." The audacity was staggering. They were attempting to legalize the theft, using the very campaign of gaslighting Sterling had executed to strip her of her control. They weren't after the $5.5 million. They were after her dignity and her freedom. Sylvie felt a tremor of true fear, but it was quickly replaced by the steely resolve she had found in the coat pocket. She walked to the counter, not to sign, but to pick up the document. She didn't read it. She ripped it, slowly, deliberately, into 4 precise pieces, letting the fragments flutter to the floor. "Mr. Kane," Sylvie said, her eyes never leaving Sterling's, who looked momentarily stunned by her defiance. "Tell your client that I am not incompetent. I am simply aware. And I suggest you read the new bank statements before you file anything. The $5.5 million is no longer in a jurisdiction where a civil action filed in this state can freeze it immediately. It's been moved, legally and irrevocably. You can file your motion, but you will only succeed in proving that my husband, having been cut off from the funds he was systematically stealing, is now attempting financial coercion." She pointed a hand toward the front door, the gesture rigid and absolute. "The next person who attempts to enter this house without my explicit, written permission will be met by the police. Sterling, you are no longer welcome here. Consider this an immediate, informal separation. Get out." Sterling, realizing the gravity of her action and the sophistication of her maneuver, lost his composure. He lunged toward her, grabbing her arm. "You psychotic fool. You'll regret this." Sylvie recoiled, stepping back sharply. "Touch me again, and I'll have you arrested for assault. Go. Find Serafina. She has your note, and you clearly need her counsel more than mine. Kane, sensing a potentially disastrous domestic incident that could harm his case, pulled Sterling back. "That's enough, Mr. Hawthorne. We'll pursue the legal avenues." They left, defeated for the moment, but the threat was very real. Sylvie knew she was fighting not just a divorce, but a legal attempt at institutional control. Sylvie didn't waste an hour. Bartholomew Kane was a viper. She needed a lion. She called Reese, who immediately recommended Anya Sharma, known in legal circles as the Ethical Crusader, a family lawyer specializing in cases involving financial abuse and guardianship battles against predatory relatives. Anya Sharma's office was calm, minimalist, and decorated with evidence of her pro bono work. Sylvie laid out the narrative, starting with the coat note and ending with Sterling's threat of a conservatorship trial. Anya listened without interruption, her expression growing sterner with every word. When Sylvie finished, Anya leaned forward. "Mrs. Hawthorne, I won't sugarcoat this. Conservatorship, or guardianship, is the nuclear option. It's often used as a weapon against financially empowered women, claiming they're mentally unsound to control their own wealth. But here's the crucial difference. You are not a victim of erratic behavior. You are a victim of elder financial abuse, or at the very least, sophisticated marital fraud." Anya used the term elder financial abuse deliberately, though Sylvie was only 55. "We will not fight this as a messy divorce. We will fight it as the vindication of a mentally competent businesswoman who uncovered a major fraud. The note is key, but we need more documentation, particularly evidence of the smear campaign. Your liquidation of the shares, while aggressive, was a legally sound move to protect yourself from a clear and present threat. I validate your actions. Now we document everything, every text, every email, every witness account of Sterling's public declarations of your instability." Anya immediately began drafting the countersuit, a petition for immediate legal separation, a restraining order against Sterling, and an investigation into the Aspen property acquisition using Sylvie's funds. Returning home, Sylvie worked with the fierce energy of a woman reclaiming her territory. The first step was physical security. She had a locksmith change every exterior lock, replacing the electronic keypads with simple, secure tumbler locks, and she installed a high-definition CCTV system around the perimeter, linking the feed directly to Anya's office server. She then severed all remaining financial ties. She closed the last joint account, opened new accounts at a different bank, one recommended by Anya that specialized in protective trusts, and transferred the remaining $5,000 from the old emergency fund. Sterling was now financially a ghost in her life. Then, she found her social ally. She went to her weekly book club meeting, a place she hadn't dared to feel vulnerable in for years. The leader of the group was Evelyn Sterling, a formidable retired academic known for her sharp wit and deep moral clarity. Evelyn noticed the change in Sylvie instantly. "You have the look of a woman who just survived a shipwreck, but managed to save the maps," Evelyn observed over tea. Sylvie told the condensed, brutal truth. The betrayal, the financial sabotage, and the conservatorship threat. Evelyn, without a moment of hesitation, reached across the table and squeezed Sylvie's hand. "Sylvie, listen to me. This isn't about you being crazy or fragile. This is about a small man who needs your money to feel big. Your indignation is righteous. Your mind is sharper than his ever was. And I know Bartholomew Kane. He relies on isolation. He wants you to feel alone." Evelyn leaned in conspiratorially. "You are not alone. You have an army. The women in this room. We have all seen a version of this. We will stand with you. We will testify to your competence, your strength, and the slow, calculated decline of Sterling's character over the past 5 years. Consider us your army of the aware." Evelyn's validation was more potent than any antidepressant. The isolation Sterling had weaponized was now being systematically dismantled by solidarity. The next day, Sylvie did something truly radical. She went shopping. Not for a necessary item, but for pure self-affirmation. She walked into a high-end salon and requested a dramatic transformation. Not a simple trim, but a sophisticated, edgy new cut that framed her face, replacing the soft, obedient style Sterling had always preferred. She chose a bold, structured suit, a power suit, the kind she used to wear to her own firm. The expenditure was modest, less than $3,000, but the psychological return was immeasurable. When she looked in the mirror, she didn't see the fragile, stressed wife. She saw the formidable businesswoman who had built her fortune from nothing. This spending was not reckless. It was an investment in her recovery. But the transformation did not go unnoticed. Sterling, receiving notifications that his credit cards were cancelled and desperate for cash, began his escalation. The calls became incessant, 30, 40 a day, alternating between furious demands and sickeningly saccharine apologies. He sent menacing, rambling emails, claiming she was damaging his career and that he would make sure she was barred from ever working again. Anya saw the pattern immediately. "This is classic harassment and attempted coercion, Sylvie. We have enough now. We file for the restraining order tomorrow morning." The order was granted the following day. Sterling was legally barred from coming within 500 feet of Sylvie or her residence, and from all electronic contact. The quiet descended like a powerful shield. For 2 days, there was peace. Sylvie felt her shoulders drop for the first time in months. She was finally safe. Then, the final, most terrifying escalation arrived. A registered letter, not from the courts, but from the County Services Office for Adult Protective Services, APS. The letter stated that, based on a confidential report filed by an anonymous family member regarding potential self-neglect and financial endangerment following recent erratic behavior, a social worker, Ms. Clara Jensen, would be visiting her home the following morning to conduct a wellness and competency investigation. The morning of the Adult Protective Services, APS, visit was tense. Sylvie, impeccably dressed in her new power suit, waited with Anya Sharma in the newly secured living room. Sterling's move was predictable. Weaponize the one authority designed to help the vulnerable, twisting its noble purpose to serve his greed. At precisely 10 o'clock, Ms. Clara Jensen, the designated social worker, arrived. She was professional, with tired eyes that suggested she had seen genuine suffering before. This was the first hurdle. Sylvie had to prove she was a sharp, calculating victim of abuse, not the confused, failing mind Sterling had painted. Ms. Jensen began with standard, non-invasive questions about her physical health, routine, and ability to manage daily tasks. Sylvie answered calmly, factually, projecting an aura of control. Then came the pivot. "Mrs. Hawthorne," Ms. Jensen said, consulting her notes. The report stated deep concern regarding a recent, massive, and unilateral liquidation of assets, described as impulsive and potentially self-destructive. The source suggests this was a symptom of acute stress and instability. Anya stepped in smoothly, placing a heavy file on the coffee table. "Ms. Jensen, with all respect, the liquidation was neither impulsive nor self-destructive. It was the precise, necessary action of a highly competent professional who discovered she was the target of a long-term financial fraud. We welcome your investigation." Sylvie took over, her voice measured. "I would like to present the evidence that prompted my actions." She handed Ms. Jensen the original note from Serafina Voss, followed by a neatly bound transcript of Sterling's frantic phone call demanding the funds back for the Aspen property, and the police report filed when the restraining order was issued. "For 5 years, my husband, Mr. Sterling Hawthorne, systematically undermined my confidence, convinced me to quit my career, and orchestrated a smear campaign portraying me as unstable, all to ensure my earned income, approximately $300,000, and my investment portfolio were available to fund his secret life," Sylvie explained. "The liquidation was my strategic response to prevent further financial hemorrhage, taken under the direct counsel of my legal team." Ms. Jensen read the note twice, her expression shifting from neutral skepticism to professional concern. The specificity of the names, the dollar amounts, and the chilling phrase, "totally dependent on your wife's quarterly dividends," painted a far more damning picture than any anonymous report of instability. Anya added the final, decisive blow. "The confidential report filed with your office was a preemptive strike designed to create an institutional record that Sterling could use in his upcoming conservatorship lawsuit. an attempt to legally steal the remaining $5.5 million. He is not concerned for Mrs. Hawthorne's welfare. He is concerned for his cash flow. He has weaponized your agency, Ms. Jensen, and we trust you will see this for the abuse that it is. Ms. Jensen gathered her papers, her face grave. I appreciate the transparency, Mrs. Hawthorne. I have a very clear picture now. Based on the documented evidence of fraud and the sophisticated actions taken to mitigate loss, I find absolutely no evidence of self-neglect, financial endangerment, or mental incapacity. The report appears to be malicious and retaliatory. I will be closing this case immediately, noting that the referral source's intent appears questionable and likely abusive. The reversal was complete. Sterling's institutional attack had backfired, providing Sylvie with a powerful neutral document confirming her competence. Sterling, facing the loss of the APS battle, doubled down on desperation. Anya soon received a new legal filing that included a shocking piece of evidence. An affidavit signed by Dr. Owen Albright, Sterling's former personal physician, stating that, in recent years, Mrs. Sylvie Hawthorne has exhibited signs consistent with early-onset cognitive decline, paranoia regarding finances, and emotional volatility, making her unfit to manage complex assets. Sylvie stared at the document. Dr. Albright was a man she barely knew, a well-respected but distant figure Sterling had used for his annual checkups. The statement was a blatant lie, a clear attempt to falsify medical evidence. Sterling must have either coerced or misled Dr. Albright. We have to stop this before it's entered into court record, Anya stated. We need a retraction. If this is a lie, Dr. Albright has jeopardized his career. Sylvie realized the physician was not necessarily a villain, but a pawn. She remembered that Dr. Albright was a dedicated, slightly naive man obsessed with his reputation. Sylvie tracked Dr. Albright to his private clinic. She cornered him discreetly in a hallway, away from his staff. Dr. Albright, Sylvie began, her voice low and non-threatening. I need you to tell me exactly what Sterling told you to secure that affidavit. Dr. Albright paled, stammering. Mrs. Hawthorne, I was assured it was necessary for a temporary asset protection measure. Sterling showed me his concern for you, your distress, the way you spoke about your finances. He said you were constantly worried people were stealing from you, showing signs of paranoid ideation. He presented it as a confidential measure to protect your estate from reckless spending. And did he show you this? Sylvie handed him a copy of the Serafina note and the APS closing statement. Dr. Albright read them, his face draining of color as the pieces clicked into place. The paranoia about stealing was her accurate assessment of his own theft. My God, he whispered. He manipulated me. He used my professional status to validate his financial crimes. Yes, he did, Sylvie confirmed, her gaze steady. And now, you have a choice. You can let that fraudulent statement stand, ruin my life, and face malpractice charges when Anya Sharma exposes the coercion, or you can issue an immediate, full retraction. State that the affidavit was based on incomplete, misleading, and ultimately false information supplied by Mr. Hawthorne, and that you have no evidence of my cognitive decline. Dr. Albright, terrified of losing his license, immediately agreed. He drafted the retraction that very afternoon, notarized it, and faxed it directly to Anya. Sterling's most crucial piece of fabricated medical evidence was now dead. To build an unassailable wall of proof, Anya insisted on a final, definitive measure. We have the APS report, but we need independent, high-level professional validation of your cognitive status. This will neutralize any future claims Sterling makes. Sylvie submitted to a full neurocognitive assessment with a neutral psychiatrist specializing in competency evaluations, Dr. Lenora Vance. It was a long, exhaustive day of testing: memory, executive function, complex problem-solving, and emotional regulation. 3 days later, the report arrived. The conclusion was unequivocal and brutal to Sterling's case. Assessment of Ms. Sylvie Hawthorne reveals a woman under significant emotional duress due to documented spousal financial abuse. However, her cognitive function, particularly in areas of financial analysis, long-term memory retrieval, and complex decision-making, scored consistently in the above-average range for her age group. There is absolutely no medical or psychological evidence of dementia, paranoia, or diminished capacity. On the contrary, her actions in protecting her assets were financially sound and indicative of high-level business acuity. Sylvie filed the report with the court. She wasn't just sane, she was officially above average. With the evidence overwhelming, Sylvie called her allies. Reese, Evelyn, and several other women from the book club gathered at her home. They were there to offer moral support and confirm their willingness to testify to the smear campaign. Evelyn, their unofficial general, looked around the room. Sterling underestimated the power of truth and the power of women who talk to each other. He relied on secrecy and isolation. We are the antidote to both. As the women discussed the final strategies, Sylvie stepped away for a moment of solitude by the window. She felt immense strength, yet a profound final ache settled over her. She realized that in fighting for her freedom, she had successfully killed the last vestiges of her marriage. The man she loved was gone, replaced by a greedy, petty criminal. The final grief was not for the loss of Sterling, but for the loss of the life they had built, the memories that were now stained, the trust that could never be resurrected. She accepted it completely. The fight was irreversible. The love was dead. She was now a warrior, not a wife. Just as the allies were leaving, a process server approached the house and slipped a large manila envelope into the mailbox. It was the formal summons. Sylvie opened it calmly. It was the final notice. Hawthorne versus Hawthorne. Petition for guardianship/conservatorship trial date set. Sterling, despite all the evidence, was forcing the issue to a courtroom climax. Her dignity was still on the line. The courtroom was paneled in dark wood, oppressive and formal. Sterling sat at the petitioner's table, flanked by Bartholomew Kane, radiating an air of injured innocence. Across the aisle, Sylvie sat straight and calm beside Anya Sharma, her allies, Reese and Evelyn, seated quietly in the gallery behind her. The trial was brief but brutal. Kane presented his narrative, the loving husband attempting to save his wife from herself after years of increasing mental fragility, culminating in a rash, multi-million-dollar asset transfer. He produced the original records of the investment account, noting the sudden liquidation as proof of her reckless disregard. Anya countered with a surgical precision that left no room for doubt. She started by presenting the note, projecting Serafina's triumphant, greedy scrawl onto the courtroom screen. "Your Honor," Anya stated, her voice resonating with authority. "This case is not about competency. It is a case of sophisticated financial abuse and legal retaliation. Mr. Hawthorne engineered a financial dependency and a psychological campaign to isolate Mrs. Hawthorne, all to divert her substantial income to his mistress and their secret assets, including a property in Aspen." The evidence followed swiftly. The APS report stating no evidence of incapacity, the retracted affidavit from Dr. Albright, and finally, the official assessment from Dr. Vance confirming Sylvie's above-average cognitive function. "We have demonstrated, Your Honor, that Mrs. Hawthorne's action in liquidating her shares was not erratic. It was the precise, necessary, and legally sound action of a highly competent fiduciary protecting her assets from criminal embezzlement," Anya concluded, resting her case. Sterling took the stand, attempting a performance of heartfelt concern, but his lies were threadbare. He denied the note, claimed Serafina was just a property consultant, and insisted the funds were joint. Then came Sylvie's moment. She took the stand, facing the judge directly. Anya guided her through the narrative of the last 5 years, focusing not on the money, but on the weaponization of love and trust. "Mrs. Hawthorne," Anya asked. "Mr. Hawthorne claims he was merely protecting you from stress when he urged you to retire and manage your finances. What is your response to that?" Sylvie looked at Sterling, and for the first time, she saw not the man she loved, but the predator who had feasted on her trust. "Your Honor," Sylvie began, her voice clear and strong, "Mr. Hawthorne didn't protect me from stress. He became the source of it. He convinced me I was fragile, weak, and incapable, specifically to strip me of my power so he could steal my wealth. When I retired, I lost my self-worth. When I found the note, I didn't lose my mind. I got it back. This conservatorship petition is not an act of love. It is the final, desperate act of a man who believes he is entitled to my labor and my money. I am here today not just to protect my assets, but to defend my dignity, my intelligence, and my right to be recognized as a full, autonomous human being. He wants control because he lost his power. My sanity is not the issue, Your Honor. His greed is. The judge, Justice Alastair Reed, a man known for his sharp intellect and intolerance for manipulation, listened intently. After a brief recess, he returned, his posture severe. The court has reviewed the evidence presented, Justice Reed announced. The petitioner, Mr. Sterling Hawthorne, has failed to present a single piece of credible, independent evidence demonstrating the respondent, Mrs. Sylvie Hawthorne, lacks the capacity to manage her own affairs. On the contrary, the respondent has provided overwhelming, compelling documentation, including a formal medical assessment and an APS determination, proving her high cognitive capacity and the necessity of her actions to protect herself from documented financial fraud. The judge's gavel struck the wood. The petition for guardianship and conservatorship is denied in its entirety. A palpable wave of relief washed over the gallery. Justice Reed was not finished. Furthermore, the court finds that this action was filed in bad faith and appears to be an attempt to exert financial coercion upon Mrs. Hawthorne. The court hereby imposes sanctions on Mr. Sterling Hawthorne. He is ordered to pay all of Mrs. Hawthorne's legal costs, and the existing temporary restraining order is made permanent. Mr. Hawthorne, you are to have no contact, financial or otherwise, with Mrs. Hawthorne, and you are barred from the marital home. You chose to wage war against your wife's competence for financial gain. You have lost, and the price of that loss is your total severance from her life. Sterling erupted, slamming his hands on the table. This is insane. She's lying. She's ruined me. The Aspen property is forfeit. Bartholomew Kane clamped a hand over his client's arm, his face rigid with professional humiliation. Kane had been bested, not by legal maneuvering, but by the undeniable clarity of the truth. Sylvie watched Sterling's collapse with a profound sense of detachment. His fury was the sound of his entitlement being shattered. He was not ruined by her, but by his own monstrous greed. He had lost the woman, the money, the house, and now, his remaining dignity in a public forum. The cycle of abuse was finally, spectacularly, closed. As they were escorted from the courtroom, Sterling caught Sylvie's eye one last time. His gaze held not hatred, but a pleading panic, the plea of a bankrupt man to his last source of credit. Sylvie turned away, the last emotional tether severed. He was no longer her problem. The epilogue unfolded with the quiet dignity Sylvie had earned. With the legal threat neutralized and the divorce proceeding smoothly, Sterling having no leverage left, Sylvie began to build a life centered on genuine peace. She sold the marital home, too full of poisoned memories, and bought a beautiful, bright apartment overlooking the ocean. She didn't return to the high-stress world of boutique design, but instead pursued a long-dormant passion, ceramic art. She opened a modest studio, pouring her newfound freedom and cold precision into the careful molding and firing of clay. Her time was filled with purpose and true connection. Reese became a regular presence, offering candid critiques of her work. Evelyn and the Army of the Aware became her inner circle, her chosen family, a testament to the power of female solidarity. She learned that money, once a source of constant conflict and pain, was simply a tool for security and choice. One evening, watching the sunset over the Pacific from her new balcony, a profound sense of clarity washed over her. She realized the ultimate lesson of the past year. Sterling had forced her to question her competence, but in the process, she had proven her strength. The camera focuses on Sylvie, older, wiser, and radiantly peaceful. They say revenge is sweet, Sylvie's voice narrates, smooth and reflective. But my story wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. It was about choosing myself. My husband insisted I quit my job, then used my salary and my savings to fund his secret life. He tried to have me declared incompetent when I fought back. But the greatest discovery I made wasn't the hidden note, or even the $5.5 million I saved. It was the realization that I was never the frail woman he claimed I was. I was the architect of my own fortune, and I am the sole curator of my own life. The money is safe. The apartment is quiet. My art is my new passion. And the final undeniable truth of this long journey is simple. True freedom is choosing who deserves your time and your money. And my answer, after all of that, is only the people who lift you up, not the ones who try to bury you. Sylvie turns from the window, looking directly at the camera, a gentle, knowing smile on her face. Did you like this story of betrayal, injustice, and ultimate vindication? What would you have done the moment you found that hidden note in the coat pocket? Would you have confronted him immediately? Or would you have done what I did and drained the accounts first? Let me know all your thoughts and strategies in the comments below. And if this journey of a woman finding her wisdom and reclaiming her worth resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the Amália Diaries. I'll be back soon with more true stories of triumph.